After, Mr. Oliver,
Here.
Mr. Russell,
Here.
Mr. Schott,
Here.
Councilman Scaletti,
Here.
Mr. Suter,
Here.
Mr. Sutton,
Here.
Councilman Bartholomew,
Is muted.
Here.
City Manager Scott Marshall,
Here.
City Attorney Ben Coppedge.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, before we start, should we alternates in the audience, we'll see if they're bringing to the table, good friends.
Be fine with me.
Mr. Beat, you're out in the audience here, why don't you come join us? You may need to bring a chair or anyone around.
It's been a while since I said the pledge of allegiance. I see it's on the agenda. I'm not sure how it's done in these meetings.
We all stand up. That's actually one to lead us.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment on the meeting agenda that's been distributed? Before we address that? Hearing none, do the committee members have any comments with respect to the meeting agenda? Or any suggested change? All right, hearing none, we'll move to the minutes for the last meeting. June 23. Are there any comments concerning the changes that in the minutes? There is a motion to approve the meeting. Seconds. Motion to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm staying, I'm not at the meeting.
Moving on to old business, Mr. City Manager, do we have an update from the Waterfront Park engineering study?
Yes, we got a final report to close out phase 1A of the study at 4:05 p.m. today. We have not had a chance to read it or go through it, much less to share it with the committee. We will soon share that with the entire committee. Most likely we'll send that out to you tomorrow. It will also be posted on the city's website for a commitment to transparency. And then from there, I suppose you and I can have a conversation on whether you would like to have a special meeting to go over any of the details with the engineers.
Very good, thank you.
Question on the waterfront engineering study. Is the engineering firm that we have, are they on a lump sum or are they on time and material? What's their contract arrangement with us?
That's a lump sum that they bill against, like there's some funds left over, I don't remember exactly how much in the phase 1A. Like one of their recommendations was to modify and begin the phase 1B. Take that funding that's left over from the phase 1A and apply that towards 1B. Looking at the report right now, it says phase 1B is described in our scope document dated November 14, 2024. It's for final data collection and modeling. The purpose of phase 1B is to ensure that sufficient data is available for the evaluation of alternatives in the phase 2. Review of phase 1A indicates that most of the data has been collected. The only remaining portion is an expansion of the land survey, the entirety of the park and buildings up to Bay Street. An expansion of the current survey is necessary to correlate the impact of structural alternatives, design water levels. Furthermore, we suggest modifying this phase by removing the modeling portion and applying it to a later date so that they can focus on phase two. And once we've had a chance to digest this internally, we'll get it to you guys before we digest it internally at your next meeting. Sit down and start talking about.
Are there any target dates that these phases going to be completed and presented to us?
So like I told you at the very first meeting, that was our goal was to get this part of the report done and get that through this committee so that y'all could set those target dates.
Last meeting when they were here, the engineering group, I believe they said they have not yet at that point contracted for phases after one A.
That's right. So that's all completely negotiable from this point. We wanted to know exactly where we are, what we have. Get that information through this committee and let the committee, the staff digest it and work with the engineers to come up with the exact game plan moving forward. Including the timelines that we want to operate on.
So they're not contracted past the development of phase one.
That's correct. We do
Okay.
not have to go with them. That's
Okay.
Any other comments on the engineering study before we move on?
I had a question, is it the time to ask it about the Waterfront Park?
Yes.
I was just wondering, the fence that goes down parallel to the walkway.
Mhm.
And it stops down there at the corner near the marina. And so we're saying the wall from that corner to the boat landing is perfectly fine.
There's no relating platform down there.
On that portion.
It just drops off straight.
So are they going to pay the end of that?
I would have to look and see how far out that way. There was an adjacent area all the way around, like where they talked about wanting to extend out the study on Bay Street. I don't recall off the top of my head exactly how far that was.
Okay. That's good.
The next item on the agenda, under old business, is future meeting dates. And the reason this is on here is because speaking personally, I can speak for myself, I had some misgivings after we set the next meeting date for Labor Day. That being a national holiday, I question whether this building can even be open. Certainly, a lot of personal schedules might be affected by that. So I would like, at this point, if we to have us revisit that date. See if we can come up with another date that might be more convenient for
Mr. Chair, real quick, did we talk about the status and communication of SC and National Park Service at all? That's.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, we haven't. As long as I stumbled into this meeting date, as long as we wrap this up, then we go back to the communication. I would like to suggest sometime in the interval between September 2 and September 5. That's within a 1 week period. We can land on a date in there that would
Since September 2 and 5.
between 2 and 5.
Right now, we had it on Labor Day at 5 p.m.
Right.
That's what's currently scheduled. And that's the 1st of September.
Labor Day was the first. Yes. Well, why don't I just put a proposal out there that we change the date currently scheduled for September 1 to September 2 at 5 p.m. Any objection to that?
I'm okay with that.
No objection.
Works for Dave Russell.
I'm sorry, Dave, what did you say?
You said it works.
Works for Dave Russell.
Okay,
And David B said yes, too.
all right. So having resolved that, let's go back to status of communications with the South Carolina PRT, the National Park Service.
So unless Ben has had some communication I'm unaware of yet, I don't think he has. We still have not heard anything since April. I have reached out to them to get them to nudge the National Park Service, but I think there's been a lot of turnover in the National Park Service in that area, so I'm waiting to hear back from our state contact.
And this was with respect to Ben's letter addressing the
Correct,
question of the premises.
correct.
The next item, new business discussion priorities and work plan. I think the priorities are at this point clear, maybe the phasing of them that's I think important. I think we will be probably as a committee a better position to deal with the the marina issues than we are with the waterfront park issues, simply because of the progress of engineering study. So I expect that we all agree that at least as an initial priority to get whatever advice we're going to come up with respect to the marina for the city council.
Well, I think you bite the apple is easy to reach in this point. The marina is something that we can get our hands around. The park is really kind of out of our control. I mean, the reality that an engineering report came in on a Friday, and the park was closed without this committee having any input to it, that we wouldn't have anything to say about it anyways. But the reality is it's kind of self-going at this point, or self-guided. In a sense, we need those engineering reports to make sense of what's really happening, but I think everybody at this table understands really what the end goal needs to happen. And that, to me, that's a conversation we need to have at some point. I mean, I don't know, do we need to wait for 2 years of engineering studies or a year or whatever to determine what the park needs?
How would you make that determination without the benefit of the engineering study?
Well, the park has failed, all right? We can engineer it till the cows come home, right? We can engineer it, we can make plans, we can spend lots of money to try to redesign an existing failed system. But at some point, you've got to understand, well, my experience with the city is that, first of all, we didn't have in my term on council, we didn't have a funding stream at all for parks. That park was handed to us by a previous administration with grants from the federal government. It was a bad design, in my opinion. It failed. We pumped millions of dollars into it in the past history, in the last renovation. There's nothing an engineer can tell me today that's going to tell me that we're not going to keep doing that if we leave that park design as it is without replacing the park design. So I question sometimes why do we keep doing engineering to determine a repair to what's there rather than make a determination that we need to go after permitting to redesign the park, start over.
Excuse me, what is their scope of work? Is it to come up with a repair or is it come up with a new design?
Either or, it was to tell us what those options are.
They're gonna present it with options, either
Yeah.
put a Band-Aid on it or tear it out and start all over again.
We asked for a range of options, a full range of options for this committee and for council to consider.
When I read the minutes of the meeting, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend that meeting. Regulatory issues may get in the way, you're not gonna be able to do X, right? Okay, well, you don't know till you try, but we have we have ability to reach beyond a conversation in a room with an engineer about what we need in the end game. The end game needs to be a park that's not gonna fail like this. So does anybody here disagree that park's a bad design? And what?
I don't have a basis for reaching that conclusion.
Park has been there for 45 years and it's been there's wear and tear.
That's what you can see. What the problem is underwater. It's a bad
Exactly.
engineering model.
But it was an engineering model based on the experience of 45 years ago. And it's a lot different now than what it was then.
So you tell me it's still a good idea to put steel encased concrete under.
I want to see what these guys want to come up with.
Okay.
I mean, there's other methods of designing
Yeah, I
a
agree.
structure. And we should see what they are, and we also have to see what those costs are. So I agree with you that I wouldn't want to look at a study that shows us we're gonna repair this thing. But I'd like to see what their analysis comes up with a design that's functional.
And I agree,
That's functional.
I agree with you with that. So I think we need to see what, if that's what we're paying them to do,
We should see what,
we should see what they present us.
That's
So
right.
when I see comments from the engineers that say, well, that's be very difficult to have regulatory, because of regulatory restraints, without even testing the water.
But what regulatory?
So in that
You're talking
particular
about
comment, I think the
backfilling?
regulatory statement that was made was in regards to backfilling versus tearing out the park and rebuilding. So they were saying that backfilling wouldn't be an option because of the regulatory process. And so that's what stimulated the question, well, what is the difference in?
State regular or fed?
There, it wasn't clear, it wasn't defined in
I'm
that
just asking.
conversation, but here'd be my question, Scott, is would it be possible for us to get a better understanding of the regulatory process for backfilling versus tearing the park out and rebuilding while we wait on the engineers to complete their process and get us more data, just so that we can have because it didn't seem like there was an answer last time as to what was the difference.
Who
I'll
would
say
provide
if it's the will of the committee to gather that information that you think it will, I mean, we can ask those questions of the Bureau of Coastal Management. But whether they provide the answers or not is another matter. We can ask the questions.
Is that where the
That's the will of the
information would
committee.
come from, Scott? The,
Yeah, that's where we can start.
Coastal,
Yes,
Bureau
Bureau of
of
Coastal Management.
So let me ask you this, if you permitted, at least applied for permits to sheet pile or other design, just some general scope of
Right.
seawall.
Yeah.
Permanent,
Okay.
if you just, what the cost analysis for that? The application process, the brain cell loss to go down that road, to put it out there in concurrent with what we're doing with engineering now. I don't see a harm in that. Unless it's like they're gonna come back with some cost factor, or you tell me that we just can't do it, but the reality is the citizens out there are asking constantly about that.
I don't know what the permit fee is for that, but I would rather ask the question first of what, if that's even a possible solution down there that would pass the Bureau of Coastal Management sniff test. So,
Well, they do seawalls all the time. I don't know how they could just generically say, no, you're not gonna do it. I think the reality is someone's got to at least take the time to go after it and see, all right, what is the process? Where's the application?
Yeah.
What's the cost?
and the engineers may have that information already, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
Well, I would have thought they would have probably alluded to that when the question was asked last time. They said they didn't know the difference, which is fine. But if they didn't know the difference in between the regulatory process for backfilling versus tearing out, then why say that it's not an option because of that? That was
That's
more or less the point there. I mean, if it's too much of a regulatory process, then fine, be that as it may. But if you don't know that, let's at least find that out before we rule it out as no longer being an option.
Well, there's certainly nothing prohibiting staff from having a conversation with the Bureau of Coastal Management.
I would make a motion that we direct staff to have a conversation with coastal. What do you call them? OCRM.
You don't want to see how.
I'll second your motion.
It used to be OCRM. I think it changed.
X, Y, Z.
To learn the details of that.
I'll second that.
But can we put the language as we request staff instead of direct staff?
Yeah.
I don't think this. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Are you talking about from the point of where the current relieving platform starts or even?
I think
I
that
don't
may determine the permit process. I think that the question really is feasibility of permitting such an endeavor. And then the decisions could be engineered to say, this is where, or this is where, because I don't know where, yeah, it'd be easier to be outside of what's there and not to discern what's there.
I would go that way.
That's a different issue, right? Than tearing out the edge of the platform and trying to go, see, I just don't know because we don't know the details of that design yet. Right. So I have a motion I heard,
And I seconded your motion.
I didn't hear a vote.
So, motion,
Repeat the motion.
as I understand it, is to request the staff to contact
Bureau of Coastal Management.
Bureau of Coastal Management to discuss the permitting implications of going forward with a repair versus perhaps a backfill.
You know what you'll do.
All right,
All right, that's the motion on the table.
any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think that, unless there are other comments from the committee at this point, or other comments, from outside the committee.
This is, committee comments. I gotta go. One, Lockwood Green doesn't have any original drawings for these drawings.
That we have found some original drawings for the engineers. I actually currently have 2 boxes in my office to go through that we just located. There are some original, some look hand-drawn documents, but give them everything we got that we've been able to find.
Okay.
Original designers don't have the documents.
Sorry.
The original designers don't have the documents,
I,
or they don't exist anymore. I don't know.
They've gotta be here because reality is back in, what was the last renovation? It was 2004, something like that, 2002, 2004. We had, you know, even though we ended up in a lawsuit, and when I say we, the city, with the contractor over cost. Somebody was working off a set of plans for that park.
Yeah. They
They
weren't,
gotta be somewhere.
they weren't drawing
We
in
had,
the dirt.
we had staff on the city at the time reviewing the work that was being done. There's gotta be a file somewhere, a paper file that shows everything they were doing, which should be overlaid over the original design. So they ought to be here. And maybe we need to dig in the back of the vault. I don't know.
Required to do the as-bills or something.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no.
Gotta write that into the contract when one as-bills, right?
Good idea.
What are you hoping to learn from those documents? Just out of curiosity to know how urgent we need to make this.
Just the relieving platform and where it's exactly located. I mean, on those drawings, I saw 36 feet of relieving platform.
Well, our current contractor and the engineers will show us all of that
Okay,
in a more detailed and precise fashion than any plans that were done 50 years ago or 20 years ago.
The study that we got in June of last year had most of that in it.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And you can see some in archival photos that you see just popping up on social media. I mean, you can see some of that stuff and. You know, the last major change, remember that the park we see today is not the park that was built. I think it was Morris who was the designer of the earlier design, and then Marvin, right? So the park we see today is not that park. Now, the under infrastructure is, but there was major changes made during that last renovation on the aesthetics of the park.
not really.
Yeah, the entire, there's no more stuff by the marina, the pavilion's completely new, the planters are new. The only thing probably left is even the promenade is oyster shell pavers. The only thing left is the bulkhead chain and balustrades, right? And the trees are new. I mean, the hardscape's new, so what was left?
Well, if you look at the old design and the new design, they're not that much different.
Not, spatial use is not different,
The
but.
playground was put in a different location.
All right. I think the open meeting portion of this meeting is probably coming to a conclusion.
I do have one comment.
Yes.
I've got a page here that I'd like to read. Can I do that now?
Yeah.
And this is just a statement that in general, big picture, that I actually wrote this for our first meeting and didn't think it was appropriate time to say it, but this is what I want to say. As part of the Waterfront Advisory Committee, I have a general statement concerning what I feel are important issues for the Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park. These issues may or may not be addressed at all by this committee, but should be considered, contemplated, recognized, scrutinized, etc. as part of the long-term development for the planning of the waterfront park. Every decision made concerning the park this day or the next day or the day after will affect the long-term evolution of what the future park could be. Although I am concerned with the immediate construction issues, land management issues of today, I'm even more concerned with the long-term complete development of the waterfront park, so that it becomes an even bigger treasure to the city of Beaufort than it already is. I would like to refer you to the 2002 master plan report produced by Sasaki and Associates concerning the Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park. Mayor Bill Rao hired one of the best design firms in the world to produce the 2002 master plan report. Towards the back of the report, just prior to exhibit 5.2, there's a drawing showing the conceptual master plan of the complete Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park. To accomplish this plan, a few critical things need to happen in the current park, and a lot of these things you already know, but just to go down a quick list: vehicular parking. Most cities would not allow or desire to use waterfront property as a vehicular parking lot. The land is too valuable to park cars on. This issue needs to be addressed citywide to determine an acceptable location of parking cars. And then I have a note in here about Somerville, South Carolina has a 3-level parking garage within 100 feet of their main street, and you can't hardly find it. And it's free parking. When they first built that parking garage 20 years ago, it had a gate. You had to pay to park. City employees use the first level. When they finished paying for the parking garage, they took the gates off, and that's all free parking. Right there in downtown Somerville. Somerville doesn't have a river, Somerville doesn't have a waterfront park, but they got plenty of parking downtown. Bus parking should be relocated elsewhere in the city, out of sight, but with easy access to the waterfront park. Drop off at the park would be designed for easy bus exit and entry. Forest carriage tour is located at the edge of the park, close to or for easy and safe access. And I refer to Charleston and their carriage program. Golf cart tours relocate out of park with easy access to park drop off. Parking for marina in waterfront park, but extremely limited. Parking spaces could limit the number of boat slips. Off-site parking is needed. Trash dumpster station located. Relocate a trash dumpster outside of the park, coordinate with the city trash program. No waterfront park should have a main trash dumpster station. Purchase old medical office property, now carriage office tour at the corner of Bay Street and Charles Street. That could have been done 50 years ago. Fuel tank station, locate the fuel tanks are critical to how the location of the fuel tanks are critical to how the land can be used inside the waterfront park. Boat landing, possibly examine type of boat landing used in the future. Relocation and design of future park structures such as restrooms, stores, offices, etc. Gateway entrance at the corner of Bay Street and Charles Street. The above items should not be attempted by a committee, but by a nationally recognized design firm such as Sasaki and Associates. There is much work to do and associated costs with the waterfront issues of today. But as mentioned earlier, the long-term goal to develop the complete Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park into the ultimate treasure it can be for the city of Beaufort should always be in the sight and in the minds of those making critical conditions, pivotal decisions today, tomorrow, and long-term in the future.
Thank you, Al. Would you be willing to make that statement available to me to get back to the minutes of this?
If I have handouts for everybody.
Oh, I was gonna ask for the actual hand.
Can run those guys? They get one of those machines. I've been watching right away.
And then the back on the last page, it's got a little map.
Well said, sir.
Mr. Beach, you won't be surprised that almost every one of your points have been debated at length
I want to
over
know.
the years. It's interesting hearing those again, it's like deja vu.
Agree.
The city clerk has asked me to please notify Mr. Russell and Mr. Bartholomew that she will email copies of this document to both of them.
And they will also be put in the SharePoint folder for you guys.
All right, with that, if there's nothing further, we will close the open meeting portion of this meeting. And is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chair, before we met that motion to make, could you just clear the reason why we'd be going into executive session?
We're going to discuss pending litigation with respect to the.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for legal advice.
Should we open up any community comment at all before we close down?
Didn't have it at the beginning of the
We
meeting.
had it.
Well, that's it. Okay, sorry, sorry, Mike.
No, that's fine. I'm more,
I wanted to make sure we got that.
well, does anybody need to say something, Mr. Chair? I welcome that
Good
opportunity.
meeting, so.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
The motion is to go into executive session, is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Don't hang up.
Sorry, Mayor, you gotta leave.
That's all right. So y'all were talking about critical line, I think that's what I.
Oh, they will not to my.
It's to be a problem.